Okay guys, welcome back to another episode. Hopefully, really hope this is our final one because the previous episode was supposed to be our final one. But we forgot to do some things. So today we are going to be working on the final things, I think, and that is to make the end of game UI, so the game over, and display how many guesses it took you to finish the game. And then we also need to go back into our game and shuffle the cards up around within amongst each other so that they don't always appear in the same order every time you start up the game, because then it's pretty much boring. So let's do that. Let's jump in here quickly and finish this. So you can see now, if we play the game, we have an actual working game, but as I said in the previous episode, our cards are always in the exact same order, and that order is the first, for the easy game, our first 4 cards, so from 0 to 3, are in the same order as the cards from 4 to 7, I think. So if we click on the first one and the 5th card in the index or in our game, it's always going to be the same, assuming you're playing the easy game. And then obviously if you're playing the medium game, it's going to be the first one, so at index 0 and whatever the halfway point is. And then the same thing happens for the next card at index 1, and then a halfway plus 1 is going to be the exact same card, so you can just mash them like that and finish the game in the the minimum amount of guesses possible, which is not what we want. We want the game to go on for a long time so you can guess around and try and match the different cards. So we're going to go back into our script here and we're going to start shuffling up these cards. So to do that, all we have to do here is create a shuffle method. So let's go and do that. Let's say private void shuffle, and then in here we need to pass in a list of our cards. Yeah, so in here we need to, if I can get there, in our shuffle method we're going to take in a list of our cards as a parameter, and then in this method all we're going to go and do is we are going to go through this list and shuffle them around. So we need to create a temporary card so that we can move some of them around without getting rid of any of them. So what we'll do is we'll set one of those cards to equal the temporary card, and then we'll go and get a random one and move it into the place of where the temporary one came from, and then we will get the one that's in the temporary, that's stored in the temporary variable. We will go and put that back into the other index, and then we will repeat this until they are shuffled. So let's go and do that. It sounds complicated, but it's not that complicated. Maybe I'm just explaining it more difficult than it needs to be. But anyway, let's go. Once we get this down in and written in code, you'll be able to see how simple it is. So what are we going to do? Over here we need to first of all pass in our list, and this is going to be a list of our sprites, because it's not really going to be cards, it's just going to be the pictures of our sprites that we assign to our button picture image, or whatever it's called. So a list of sprites, and this will be called our card list. So that's fine. So in here we want to, okay, so I made two sets of brackets. So in here we want to go through this list one by one and shuffle them. So to go through a list, we can go and say for int i is equal to 0. So that's going to start at the beginning of the list, index 0. It's going to work its way through the list, so we'll go and say card list dot count. So my mistake here, we need to say I is less than card list dot count, and then we also need to say I plus plus, so it goes from one to the next until it gets to the last one. So in here we now need to go and create a temporary storage sprite so that we can assign our one that we're working on to this temporary storage, so we don't accidentally delete it or get rid of it out of the list. So to do that, let's go and say sprite, and here we can go and say temp card or let's say temp card, and this is going to be equal to our list at index of I. So the one we're working on, this needs to be card list, like that. So whichever card we're working on in our card list, we will go and assign that to our temporary storage. And then what we want to go and do is we want to get a random value, so int random value, or let's say random int, like that, so it makes sense. Random int is equal to random.range, and this is going to be from the position of the list that we're working in, so I, and it is going to go up to the end, so it's going to be card list. Oh, what am I doing? Okay, so what we want to do next is card list.count, like that. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to go into our card list at that index, and we want to go back into our card list again and go and get the card that's at this random integer. So let's go and say card list at I. So remember, we took this card that is sitting at our index of I and stored it in our temporary value here. So now that we've got that in a storage value, this I position is kind of empty. It's not really, it's a duplicate, but we can go and override it by saying card list at index of I is going to be equal to the card in our list that is at our random index. So we can go and move that card into that position, if that makes sense. Okay, so now that we've got that, we can go back into our card list and we can go to our random int, it's called random int value, and at this position, because we moved the card out, well, the image that was at this position into the position of I, this now becomes the one that's at our temporary one. So let's go and say temp card. So we can save that and leave that like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to illustrate this out for you, just so it makes sense. So here, let's have, okay, so here we have our card. So say we have, what am I doing? Say we have 4 cards in our pack. Okay, actually let's make it 8 so we stick with how many cards we have in our game. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through our list. So I is equal to 0. So I can be any of these values starting at 0. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 7, 6, 5, and 4. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to 0, so this one here, this card, and we are going to create a temporary storage. So this is going to be our temp, like that. So we're going to take this card and we are going to move this card over here, all the way over here, and pop it into our temporary storage. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go and get a random value from this. So because we're working at index of 0 at the moment, we're going to go and get a random value from 0 up until 7. So obviously, because 7 is our last index, we're going to go from 0 to 7. If we were working with a card or an index of 2, it would obviously be 2 to 7. But because we're working with the first card, we still have all of these cards over here to choose from, to replace. So now that we've moved this card into our temporary storage, or rather just storing a temporary duplicate of this card in our temporary storage, we can now go and get a random card out of the remaining cards, and say we pick a random number between 0 7 and we get the card that's at index of 3. What we're going to do is we're going to take this card and we are going to shift it into this position over here. So now the index, well, the card that was at our index of 3 now becomes the card that is now at our index of 0. And now, because we have taken this card and we popped it into here, we now can go and take our card that was at our index of 0, which is now in our temporary index or temporary storage sprite variable, which is this guy over here. We can now take this card and pop it into here. So in other words, we're just swapping cards from in our list. So card 3 or card at index 3 now is at card index 0, and the card that's at the index of 0 now becomes the card that's at index 3. So hopefully that makes sense, and that is not too hard, or I didn't overcomplicate that. So now that we've got our shuffle method complete, let's go ahead and call it. So to do that, we are going to call it before we start playing the game. So at the start of the game, we can call shuffle, and then in here we want to pass in our our card buttons. So just like that. So that should be fine. So we'll go ahead and save that. And something we also need to do is we need to keep account of how many guesses we are taking in the game. So whenever we flip over 2 cards, no matter if they are correct or incorrect, we want to keep track of the number of guesses we're having, so that at the end of the game, when we make our UI to end the game, we can display how many guesses it's taken us. So to do that, over here, just after our first guess, or not after our first guess, but after we have after we have got, no, we don't want to put it there, we want to put it somewhere else. Well, you know what, let's go and save this quick and let's jump into our game and see if our cards are getting shuffled. So I'm gonna go back into in this scene. We can go ahead and play it. Let's pick easy. So now we have our cards over here. So if we go into our game manager here, you can actually see that our cards are now shuffled. So our cat card now is at index 0 and 6. So we can go and match those cards. 0, okay, yeah, those are correct. So before, when we played the game, you saw that I think it was the bat was always at index 0 and 4. So it was the first one over here and this one over here. So let's see, at index 4 now is now our pot, and at 5 is our house. So just to prove that this does shuffle, you can see cat, the order now is cat, bat, pot, pot. So these are together, but it's all randomized. So if we go and play the game again, click on easy and then go back into our game manager, you can see that they do keep shuffling, although I mean, doesn't really do a very good job because they're putting them right next to each other. But that's mainly because there's only 8 cards in the deck, so there's not many places for them to go. So let's see, house, pot, pot. Okay, so it's not really doing a very good job, but you get the idea. It would work a lot better if we had more cards to test this out in our medium or our high level, but I again forgot to create those cards, so we can't test those levels out yet, so we might have to make another game. Damn it. Anyway, let us go and start working on the UI. So let's go to our scene, our game scene here, and here I'm just going to create another UI panel, and this is simply going to be our game over panel. So this, I'm going to change the color of it. Let's change the color to like an orange one. We'll put the transparency up to 2225 or whatever it is, so that we can't see through it. And then I'm going to resize it so that it doesn't take up the whole scene. Just like that, it should be fine. What does that look like? Yeah, that's fine. Actually, let's make it a little bit smaller. We'll put it in the middle like that, and then we can add some text to it. So in here, let's go and add in some text, and this is, we are going to say game complete, like that. We will put that bold, or we'll put it in the middle as well, and then we'll position this up there. Could probably change the size to about 4, no, maybe 50, like that. Do we want this to be capital letters? Yeah, we'll make it like that. And then 60, yeah, that looks better. Well, let's go bigger. 70, cool. I am going to change the color of the text to black. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another text field. Text. And then over this, in here, this is what we're going to change in our, what's it called, in our script. Because we want it to say how many guesses it took us. So in here we will say it took you so many amount of guesses, like that. And then just to make it even more functional, I'm going to add in another button, and this I am going to say level select button. So this we will this button will act as a navigation button, and it will take you back to the level select scene so that you can start the game again and play a different level if you want. So we'll make that bigger and pop that in the middle. What does it look like? Okay, so that's fine. I'm not really good. Actually, let's do that. Let's put our button in here. So we change it to that, and then the text of, or the color of the text, we will change to bold. We will change the color of it to white. I think we can make it slightly bigger to about 30. What does that look like? That looks good. What I'm also going to do, just to make this look even better, it's not that important, but I'm going to shift this down to about there, and then shift our button probably down even more, and this down as well. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another image on top of our title, or game complete text, and I'm going to add in our pumpkin, like that, just to make it more Halloween-y. Let's do that. So we'll put that over there. I don't really know if that looks good. Let's see. Yeah, I mean it's not the best, but it does its job. So let's go, we'll make this a bit smaller, just because I don't like how big it is. Cool. So that looks fine. So now the only thing we want to do is we need to set this to be equal to false. So let's go and disable this, not that, sorry, the entire panel. So we only want that panel to pop up when the game is over. So I am going to add in, what's the time? I'm going to add in another empty object. I'm going to call this UI manager. And then on here, I'm going to add in a new script and call this UI manager. Actually, do we have a script that we can already use? Level manager, global. Okay, so we don't. So we'll take this and put this in here. And then we'll open this. And then we will, I don't know if we'll need that, but we'll get rid of it for now. So we'll copy that and say using Unity Engine .ui. So here we want to create a reference to our panel. Actually, no, not our panel, our buttons. Button. This is going to be called our level select button. Cool. Actually, do we need that? No, I don't think we need that. Let's get rid of that. All we need to have is a public void level select button. and this is going to take us to, we need to import our scene management so we can jump between scenes. So here we will say scene manager dot load scene global dot level select scene. So this is why I create these global variables, so we don't have to carry on using the text. We can just access it straight from our global script, and also if we change the name of the scene, we only have to change it in one place. So we'll save that. So, and let's go and assign that quick. So in our canvas on our game over panel, it was our level select button. We can go and add this. So on click, we can drag in our UI manager, and then we can select our level select button. So that should take us to our level select scene. So now in our game manager, we need to have a reference to the panel. So here we will copy and paste that, and we'll change this to game object, and this is going to be our game over panel. And then in, where is it? Wherever we deal, yeah, game is complete. So instead of just logging this message out, we want to go and say game over, do we capitalize that? So this needs to be game over panel, and we're going to set this to active. So we'll set active true. So let's go and see if this works. So we should now go back into our level select scene, press play, and now we can jump into our game. Okay, so we're gonna have to play the game. So those are wrong. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to cheat on this and go into our game board, our game manager, and see which one's which. Okay, so the first two match the house, and then house is the fifth one, so that one, and then the third one is our cat. That's the last one, and then obviously these two. Yes, I am cheating here. Okay, so those are clearly wrong. So which is it? It is the bat with the second last one, that one, and then it's these two. So we'll match those. So now that that's fine, we should see. Okay, so we need to go and drag these in. That was a waste of time. Where is it? Level select, no, game scene rather. Game manager. We need to drag in our game over panel in there, and let us try this again. So play, and then we have to cheat again because we're not gonna try and guess, otherwise we'll be here forever. Okay, so bat. Okay, so for the second one and the third one match. The last one and the first one match, and then this one and this one match, and then this one and this one match. So now our game over panel should pop up as soon as those cards get removed. So there we are, game complete. It took, we also need to fix this, so it took you so many amount of guesses, and we can jump back into our level select and start again. So that's fine. So now let us go and deal with the text. So to fix this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do this. I'm going to move this guesses count from our game manager and pop it into our global. So here, this is going to be public static int guesses count. And then our game manager, here we can go and say, what is it? I've forgotten where it is. Hold on. Okay, so up here, after we reveal the second card, we want to go and say global dot, what is it called? Guesses count plus plus. So we'll add one onto there, And then in our UI manager, we can simply do this. Hopefully this will work. So here we'll say serialized field, private. What is this going to be? This is going to be a now we have to figure out what we're going to use. So here we are using Text Mesh Pro like that, and then, well, to make this easier, I'm just going to go back into here and see what we used. Okay, so we haven't used it in this game, which is fine. This is going to be a, can't remember what it is. We'll have to sift through all of them and see text. There it is, Text Mesh Pro UG UI. Such a weird name. Okay, so we'll do that, and here we'll say score. So what we'll do is we'll just do this in our update, so it constantly updates. Even though I know this is probably not a good idea, but I mean, this game is small, it doesn't really matter. So here we will bring back our update method, and then here we will say score dot text is equal to, and then just to save myself from having to type this whole thing out, which has probably been very lazy, I am going to jump into here and copy this and paste this into here. So $, paste that into there, and then close that off. So in here we need to put this in brackets, and then here we'll have score. So we'll save that, and then so putting this $sign here means that we can add these curly braces in like amongst a string and make references to variables. So if we get rid of this $sign, we won't be able to do that. It no longer recognizes that there is a variable there. It's just a better way, it's just a shorter way of doing things, or converting it to a string and then popping it into a sentence. I don't know, it's just easier. There are different ways to do that, but for now let's go and see if this works. So we'll go back to our level select scene, play the game, and then here I'm again, why do I keep forgetting? Okay, so our game scene, we need to drag our our text into this one, into here. So drag that in there, and then go back into our level select scene, play the game. Obviously I'm going to cheat again because we're not doing this. So what is it? Game manager. So house with the last one, first and last, and then it is going to be second and this one, and then it is going to be this one and this one, and then this one, this one, this one, and this one. So now we should get a message. Okay, so that's not good. It took you text of guesses. Okay, score. Oh, what am I doing? This is completely wrong. This needs to be global dot guesses count. That was a silly mistake. I don't know why I did that. So we'll save that. Now we have to do that all over again. It took you 0 guesses. Okay, great. So let's go and press play. And let's cheat again. So game manager, cat, this one and this one. Bat is a second and fourth one, so this one and this one. Okay, so last, okay, I've completely forgotten which one we've still got left. So our pot is that one and our third one, and then obviously these two will match. So our house and our house, so hopefully we get our message displaying the correct number of guesses. So it did take us 4 guesses, and obviously that is because we cheated, so we only got 4 guesses. So I'm just going to do this again, and I'm going to get one wrong on purpose just to make sure that this does work, because I don't know if it will. So let's get one wrong. So we'll get those 2 wrong. So now we can get them all correct. Oh, actually, let's get another one wrong. So those 2 are wrong. Okay, so house is this one and this one. And then Our cat works with these two. And then our bat is these two. And then obviously these two match. So now we should get 6 guesses, I think. So it took us 6 guesses to get this right. So there we go. It took you 6 of guesses. That doesn't make sense. Let's go change that. So what do you want to say? It took you number to finish, to complete. What do we want to say? We'll just say like that. That's fine. So we'll save that, and then let's see what this looks like. It took you 0 guesses to complete the game. Okay, so that's it. I think that's, so we can go back to there, and then we can play the game, and then I think I'm going to end this game over here, just because we could go into and fix this, but the thing is, I mean, do I really want to go and make so many cards? The only thing you need to do is just create more cards and put them into your resource cards folder. So you could pretty much duplicate all of these and just add them over and over again, and it will work. The only reason why it's not working is because in our global we have our medium level set to 40 and our hard level set to 100. So in our medium level we will need a minimum of 20 cards for that level to work. And then obviously for a hard level we'll need a minimum of 50 cards. But it is as simple as literally putting any cards you want in that folder, and then assuming you the code is the same as mine, it will work. But yeah, I don't know, maybe down the line I will end up adding an extra video to this, but for now I think that's going to be it for this game series. So we have come to the end of this game. It's pretty fun, nice themed Halloween game for the themed season. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this episode and this game series. So thank you so much for watching this series, and I hope you enjoyed it. We will be starting a new series, I don't know, in a couple of days. I haven't really done, well, to be honest, I don't really know exactly what we're going to be doing. We might hop back into our Space Hopper game for an episode or 2, just to carry on that while I plan the next game. But yeah, that's it for this episode. So again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.